of the Pan-African Film to show here. This is the Pan-African Parliament here at Fairway Hotel, and we sit here from Friday, from 5 p.m. up to 8 p.m. every Friday. I'm glad that those of you who are following us online, you are tuned to the show that brings you through African discussions here from Fairway Hotel in Uganda. My name is Andrew Lumba, to be a speaker, and I've been joined by very distinguished discussants and panelists here. First is the Professor Alenyo William. He's an international human rights and civil rights lawyer and also an author. If you could give him a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. And then we have Madam Itesi Fight from Ukrainian Solidarity Group Committee in Uganda. We also have the chairman of the very able committee, Mr. Makanga Alex, who is the chairman of Ukraine Solidarity Committee in Uganda. In his paper, Council Ekpe says there are three situations that can lead one country to invade the other. And he said one of them is anticipatory self-defense. This is where the responding state acts in anticipation of an impending attack or to demobilize an attack underway, as above explained. Then he says preemptive self-defense is a war that is commenced in an attempt to repel or defeat a perceived imminent offensive or invasion. It is an offensive launched by a state which has reasonable grounds to believe that an enemy state is stockpiling or developing weapons or planning or cultivating armed groups or even abetting and aiding armed groups in preparation to strike. The country which feels so threatened may preemptively strike a first to gain a strategic advantage in an impending war shortly before that attack materializes. It is a war that preemptively breaks a pseudo-peace. Preemptive self-defense is also termed the doctrine of preemption. The doctrine of preemption was propounded by the Bush administration in the United States National Security Strategy 2002, wherein the US President propounded the theory that the United States or other states need not wait and tolerate a row of states' obvious plans to attack, and that the US, upon receiving strong intelligence and evidence of possible future attack, shall break their peace and attack the perceived aggressor first. This was developed following real changes in societal situation away from the decade when the UN Charter was made. This doctrine was an inevitable need to the US national security arising from the incident of terrorist attacks on the US on 11 September 2001, or what they call 9/11, by Al-Qaeda led by Osama bin Laden. The Taliban government in Afghanistan, I beg your pardon, the Taliban government in Afghanistan had actually harbored the terrorists in their territory from which they were believed to be planning more attacks on the US, hence invoking the preemptive self-defense tool. The US attacked, disarmed, and dislodged the enemy government. Iraq was also attacked in 2003 on same grounds by CIA reports of development of weapons of mass destruction perceived to be targeted at the US, though later intelligence reports showed this was mistaken. But USA ought to be held responsible for that violation of international law, having realized that the CIA report was, after all, inadvertent. Though at the time of the attack, the US may have been justified on reasonable grounds. The third ground that you can be invaded and attacked, according to Council Ekpe from Nigeria, is preemptive self-defense. This is a military action to destroy potential threat entertained by the responding state, who feel that if an enemy or rogue state acquires certain dangerous weapons, she or humanity is not safe. In other words, the state and the humanity in that state is not safe, and the world may be at the precipice of destruction. Just imagine how the Taliban government should be in the possession of weapons of mass destruction, or Iraq under Saddam Hussein, or how the Idi Amin regime of Uganda or the General Abacha regime of Nigeria would have been allowed to develop or be in possession of weapons of mass destruction. If responsible regimes are able to acquire weapons of mass destruction, they would be attacked to halt the development. The preemptive strategy is employed when an attack by that party is not imminent or known to be planned, but is only launched to prevent development of military capabilities that may one day be used to attack another state, or to invade or annex weaker neighbors, or become a threat to world peace and security. The Trump administration near invasion of North Korea stood on the principle of preventive self-defense. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a paper, a presentation by Council Ekpe, and we would like to ask him to actually come and use about 15 minutes to present the entire paper, and then we'll ask Council Alenyo to come and give his views on the same. I know you need to come with this copy, Council Ekpe. I can borrow you mine. So we need to begin with you.
Yes, as we discussed, there are principles of international law known as self-defense, and this self-defense, though only one of them is recognized under international law, are three: anticipatory self-defense, preemptive self-defense, and preventive self-defense. The Honorable Speaker have explained those self-defenses, so there is no need for me to go into that again.
So the topic is very straightforward. There are three scenarios where a country can invade another, and I've explained that. We are asking, which one is Russia using?
Russia is not using any of them.
Russia is not using
any of them.
Okay, right.
Yes, the invasion of Ukraine by Russia is totally illegal, morally and under international law. Let me go further to explain that self-defense in international law is not done indiscriminately. It is done in accordance with the laid down principles. Article 2, Clause 4 of the United Nations Charter expressly says that no state should on any account invade any other sovereign state. While Article 51 of the same charter stipulates that only when a state is being attacked that he may attack back in self-defense. However, the word attack has been generously interpreted by the International Court of Justice and by the United Nations, both the United Nations Security Council and the United Nations General Assembly, to the effect that if a state has very compelling grounds to believe that another state is about to attack it, it can attack back. It can attack first, and that is preemptive self-defense. Why did the United States attack Iraq in 2003? What actually happened is that propagandists will start by saying they accuse Iraq of having weapons of mass destruction. At the end, they will load weapons of mass destruction. They forget the antecedents, they forget the history, they forget the past. It is the totality of the history of the past. The totality of everything is brought together to determine whether the United States was right to actually attack Iraq in 2003 or not. It all started when on 9 September 2001 when Al-Qaeda attacked the World Trade Center and some other locations, the Pentagon in the United States. So many thousands of people were killed. So many thousands of people were killed. The entire world arose and condemned that terrorist attack. And these terrorists, Al-Qaeda, were being harbored in Afghanistan. So because of that, the whole world agreed that the United States, the president of the United States, George Bush, then propounded another international law theory, the theory of preemptive strike. The principle of preemptive strike was propounded called the United Nations Security Strategy 2002. When it was propounded that when it is very, very obvious, there is evidence that armed groups or another country is planning an attack on another country in their soil, that the victim country or the country that is likely to be a victim has the right to strike. And that is how the United States struck Afghanistan. When the United States struck Afghanistan, the whole world supported the United States except two countries, Iraq and Iran. And of course, there is already the antecedent, there was already the history that Iraq was already coordinating terrorist attack on the United States of America for so many decades. They have been doing that for so many decades. They have been harboring terrorists, they have been planning terrorism against the United States. And of course, you should also remember that in 1980, the president of Iraq, Saddam Hussein, used chemical weapons, biological weapons on his own citizens, his own countrymen in court in Iraq. So it is the totality of all this that the United States have the reasonable grounds to believe that Iraq has weapons of mass destruction, which of course includes chemical weapons. Where did Iraq have chemical weapons?
Do you believe that America also has weapons of mass destruction? Do you believe that America also killed innocent people just like Iraq is alleged to have done? America now still has a torture chamber in Guantanamo Bay. Not in America, but in Cuba. Are they using it to manufacture ice cream to the people?
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. The United States of America is developing super weapons to protect the world, not to destroy the world.
Using preventive self-defense. They're using none in the US.
None of the above. What Russia is using is simply aggression. It is simply aggression. The International Criminal Court
now be part of People's Pan-African Parliament, the Pan-African Pyramid Debate with your speaker, Andrew Iruma Katusare.
Russia is using aggression. That's the point you made. Russia is using aggression.
Yes, Russia is using naked aggression on Ukraine.
Thank you.
As a Pan-Africanist, I would like to associate myself with the sovereign people of South Africa, the floods that are affecting that part of Africa. I thank you for moving a motion for 1 moment of silence for the floods that are affecting Africa. And as a Pan-Africanist, Mr. Speaker, this is one of the things that our leaders in Africa must work on. A common African policy on disaster, which is not there. If you look at the Ugandan constitution, it says there must be a disaster commission. And in this country, the government has failed to appoint
They even have a minister of disaster preparedness.
Yes.
But are they always prepared?
They are not always
They
prepared.
always come after the disaster.
And I think one of the reasons is that the Constitutional Disaster Commission is not in place. Because the Disaster Commission should be the one working under the Prime Minister's office to monitor disaster.
Disaster Commission.
Yes, it is in the Constitution, but it's not implemented. So like now, Africa would be sending a combined force to handle the floods. The South African Army has sent 10,000 forces. Our UPDF has got a standing relationship with with the South African Army.
So since when did this, Comrade, since when did this disaster commission?
It was in the 1995 Constitution. So it is about 20 years late. And that is why whenever there is disaster in Uganda, the money is just eaten. Why? The disaster commission is not there. The Minister of Disaster Preparedness does not have a commission to work with. So the preparation for the disaster is itself disastrous. Last week, the Orthodox Pope Kirill, declared that the war in Russia is about the Holy Russia. And the Holy Russia means Russia, Belarus, and Ukraine. Russia, Belarus, and Ukraine. And as we debate this topic, you are now going to see why the other three options, anticipatory self-defense, preemptive self-defense, you are going to see why they don't apply to Russia. Because of their history, rhetoric, and strategy. So last week, the Pope Kirill announced that these three countries, Russia would now be referred to as Holy Russia. And being referred to as Holy Russia meant that they were going back to the Slavic days. Because these three countries, they are one race. Russia, Ukraine, and Belarus. They used to be one country in the Slavic eras. And their country, the capital city was Kiev, which is now in Ukraine. So, there is when they talk of Holy Russia, they are now talking about the ancient Russia, the greater Russia. They are invoking nationalistic policies to bring back the greater Russia, which includes Ukraine, includes Belarus. And it therefore means, even in the first place, the war was not about threat of any impending war, and was not about any threat from the joining of NATO. It is about Putin's expansionist ancient program.
So it's like you suggest like Putin wants to reconquer. They are using the word reconquer.
Yes.
Reconquer.
Yes.
Intentionally.
Yes.
He wants his territories back, and that is
back. And right honorable Speaker, that has been a problem with the world ever since.
So therefore, if that is the Putin's idea, is that the business of America? How does it become?
It becomes a business of America because of Article 4.2
the UN Charter.
Of the UN Charter, which says every independent country, the borders must be protected. You do not attack a country because of its history. You cannot attack the state of Israel because you think Arabs own it. You cannot attack Uganda because it once belonged to Congo. It is only dictators and despots who want to attack present-day countries based on history. Russia cannot use any of the three available defenses. One, anticipatory self-defense. 2, anticipatory self-defense. 2, preemptive self-defense.
Yes.
And 3, preventive self-defense. The reason Russia is using neither of this, as my brother has ably said, is because they are not applicable to the Russian situation. Right, Honorable Speaker? That is where Russia has lost the game. They are not preventing Ukraine from striking them. I say there is no imminent war or no imminent nuclear.
They are preventing some.
They are preventing
from using their.
No, they are simply saying they are preventing Ukraine from joining NATO. That's it. Can you see do you follow the logic? They're just saying we want to prevent Ukraine from joining NATO. And Ukraine is powerless.
Because they anticipate when they join NATO,
yes,
then NATO is going to attack Russia using Ukraine.
Now it becomes what they call MOVE. Some extension. When they join, they will fight. Not that they are about to fight. When they join, they may be given ideas to fight Russia.
Do you think they can afford to put sanctions on Russia?
But you see, if the African Union does not have a common foreign policy, that's where the problem comes. Ukraine is the largest exporter of sunflower, sunseed oil, wheat, and some of the oil you are buying from other countries are actually originating from there. We have problems, and even Zimbabwean minister mentioned that the war is causing the price rise. So there is a way Africa must stop just talking. If the rest of the world is putting sanctions, we have to put sanctions.
Can you afford? You want to bring problems in Africa? Anyway, Council, one they pick from you is lawfare, not warfare.
Yes.
That's why it's there.
And I have submitted that Russia has lost all the lawfare.
Oh.
It is now only government.
They are now just on warfare.
On warfare.
Just like Council, they say, they are not aggression.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Council. Give me a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, and comrades, panelists, Professor Alenyo.
So I think
2 points. One is there must have been a victim of an armed attack. Where we have seen America seeking permission from the United Nations Security Council to make any invasion or any attack, we have seen their evidence. Even we, the ordinary people from around the world, we can evidently look with that there has been an attack on American land or on anywhere. If they attack American neighbors in Uganda, they have attacked American land. If they have attacked American neighbors in Kenya, the same. So there we have seen that where America attacks either Iraq, either Gaddafi in Libya, there we have some proof that American people were attacked, and those attacks.
That's why America was responding.
And that angle is abided by the self-defense anticipatory provision by the UN by the UN Charter. Secondly, it's also the country does the same. It must give a report to the UN Security Council, and the report must be made to either that country has proven beyond reasonable doubt that it has to do something of that nature for self-defense, which to Russian side, it has in fact proved so the UN Security Council. Where we are speaking now, the leader of opposition in Russia is in jail. There is no difference between Russia and Uganda. So if we are to have a democratic world, we should all stand in solidarity with the pro-democratic voices.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
I totally disagree with the first panelist when they saying that the military arsenal of the United States is playing a big role in promoting peace in the world. I disagree with that statement because we have seen that the military arsenal in the United States has been used in destabilizing several countries in different parts of the world, especially Africa and the Arab world. Therefore, it is not true that the military arsenal in the United States has played a role in promoting peace in the world. That is totally.
In other words, their might is to protect them, not you.
Yeah, actually the military of the United States is to protect
that they have.
Is to protect
is for their protection.
Yeah, that's for their interest. Yeah.
So it is to your advantage, not to their advantage, and it is to their disadvantage.
Yeah, it's to their advantage, not to our advantage.
Oh.
Yeah. Then the NATO expansion is not only a big problem to Russia itself, but to the world, to the whole world. NATO expansion, as you have seen the aims of NATO, for example, it has sponsored a lot of wars in the world, as you have seen. In the overthrow of the Pan-African leader, Muammar Gaddafi, that was also by NATO. Therefore, I have also seen that NATO's expansion is going to promote more colonialism. So Africa, we are actually fighting to eradicate colonialism from our continent. But NATO's expansion is indirectly promoting colonialism. Therefore, we don't support that. Oh. And I support Russia's invasion of Ukraine.
Thank you, Robert. So, Mr. Ekpe, you have someone disagreeing with you?
Yes, I will disagree with
you. Yes.
I will care you as a fellow student.
Okay.
My points, they are not in a way mocking your intelligence. I respect all of you. In fact, all you have said, I've agreed with it. I had my own kind of vision of what Russia was doing, and I was on the side of Russia. But after listening to all of you, I somehow got convinced. But still, let's look at it this way.
Now, me, I want your opinion.
My opinion.
Ekpe had his opinion. They have had their opinions. The gentleman who have just spoken has his opinion. What's your opinion?
My opinion, we cannot in a way underlook what Russia, the joining of Ukraine, joining NATO, we cannot underlook it because, let's look at this. The Black Lives Matter movement in the United States was something so small, it started little, but you saw the disorganization it brought into the United States. And the fact that Ukraine is to join NATO does not basically mean that it will actually affect the military or the security of Russia. Let's look at it this way. It can in another way morally affect the things that are happening within Russia. Because there is a war, what we call the Cold War, that has been going on for such a long time.
Ekpe, Manfred from Nigeria, and thank you so much, the audience from Macquarie University and the Kampala International University, and all of you who joined us here today. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back again next Friday. This is the Pan-African Pyramid Parliament here.